what's good? Yeah, Tuesday, 1 o'clock, May 6th. We are just making sure everything's working. And yeah, it's me, Starkey. This is another track breakdown day. And we're talking about records that are forthcoming on Vacuum State, which is out May 16th, 2025. This is the first time doing this on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock, so I don't know if anyone's going to join in, but this will be recorded anyway, so we'll see. I'm going to dive right in. Today we're going to talk about a record called Equinox. And I'll pull up this again. So Android's Dungeon Radio is the label. If you want to pre-order the record, you get Cannons and Martian Code, which I've already done breakdowns for, right away. Also announced, I think it was yesterday, Centauri's UAP 12-inch. And I did a remix of the track Shark. I'll probably do a breakdown of that song as well. That's out June 6th. You can now pre-order the limited edition green vinyl. I've seen it. It looks really cool. The cover art is great as well. But you can preview it now and or pre-order it now, and you get this track, UAP, the title track, right away. Also, if you're in Denver, we're doing a record release party June 13th with the whole crew, Sinistar, Muxmul, Siva. Tickets are available now at the Black Box website. If you want to hear some of these songs live. So here we are, Equinox. Not many people have heard this record yet. So here we go. Let's listen together. So that was Equinox, the fourth track. The third track on the record. So all right, let's start from the beginning and break it down. So here's what we got going on. Start with this opening here. It's funny, this says bass because it's the MIDI from the main bass copied down here, and it's going through a Zebra 2 patch. Just a phase oscillator going through some filters and a comb filter. Which is cool. It's adding that, it's the same MIDI information that dun 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 dun, but sounds nothing like that. There was a horn synth that I used. You know what I think this is? This track was made when I was transitioning computer systems. And so the instrument that I used for making this sound, I had to bounce this as audio to bring it into this computer, and whatever OS issues or whatever, that synth doesn't exist on this computer. So I only have the audio of this, what I called horn synth. So that's this sound here. And all that is just, it's kind of big CS80 synthy sounding horns. But I can't show you what that is. There's a couple other little things in here. Another Zebra 2 hit. This was probably based on this preset here. This is where I started. Just kind of making these bell tones. A lot of, interesting little bell tones. I was on a Zebra 2 kick for some reason when I was working on this. Little FM synth. Sounds like a DX7 patch. Yeah. That's a pretty cool little patch too. It sounds like it's based off of the same synth architecture as that main synth. Just got that arpeggiated sound to it. And so this track also has a lot of breaks like cannons, but the breaks that I'm using aren't your typical, kind of go-to breaks. Obviously, I've used Think a lot, but here I'm using Momentum again. Just a different drum break, not as popular, not as common. And let's listen to what this sounds like without the effects. We'll start bringing in the effects. So here's Momentum and what it's doing. So first thing I did was bring out the transient using Smack Attack. Eventide just released a new transient designer plugin today. Newfangled Audios. I forget what it's called, but I just saw an email about it, which I'm interested in. So you can hear it's just adding a little bit of smack there, a little bit of EQ using shade. Then I'm using the filter station, this time for an effect, right? So carving out the kick here. And then I have another one with a high pass filter. So a notch and a high pass, and then some saturation, a little bit of FM. You can hear what that's doing. Brightening it up also, which is kind of nice. And then I use the Lindell channel strip, the API channel strip. Why? Honestly, again, with these kinds of things, it's just like, I haven't used this plugin in a while, so why not grab it? And that's basically what I did. but you can hear the difference. Just really trying to open up the top end and brighten it up. Without. With. Cool, so that's the first break you hear. Kind of get the things going here, right? So. Hey, Jerome Spank Bass, welcome. Thanks for joining. We're just getting started breaking up this record called Equinox. Alright, so we're on to the first drop here. So the drop is basically drums and bass. That's it. It's very, very simple. There's these extra, sound effects, transitional things that are happening. We'll get to that in a second, but it's mainly just drums and bass. Really straightforward. 144 BPM, kind of old school hardcore. The bass line sounds like a grime bass line. Again, it's very much like Cannons, the other record that I did already a breakdown of. But this one isn't using like breaks that are more common. This one's using things that are a bit stranger and a little bit odder, right? So let's look at this. What we got going on here? All right, well, that is the think, isn't it? Yeah, that's something, right? So there's a little voice thing in here, and that's kind of just creating a little bit of a, when you have breaks and you have those little sample things that come in, that like with a voice that's kind of in there. That's what I'm trying to recreate with this. So high pass filter. I'm using the AMS RMX16 with the plate reverb for this. And then I've got running through a Reason rack effect. Okay. It's clearly not. What the heck? Alright, well, it's not going through this Reason rack extension right now. I don't understand why. But I used a Reason rack extension. It's a clipper. So we're just missing the clipper. It's an Omega mastering clipper. I don't know why it's not working right now. I didn't open up that when I was testing this session because it played. So is it gonna keep telling me to reopen this session? Hopefully not. See if that stops. If it doesn't stop, I'll do it. All right, let's look at the beat. Take all the plugins off. So it's the same break that's in the opening. And sort of the same structure here for the plugins, just slightly different. I'm sure the filter station's different, and then I added the Oxford inflator. So we still have the same transient designer, the same EQ. I'm using the basement to help bring out the kick drum. You can hear that really accentuating the kick drum. Jerome said, looks like old stuff, 2008. Great to hear that sound coming back. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the new records I'm doing are very much like old school hardcore influence and obviously still grime influence, but yeah, I've been using lots of breaks. So that's adding that extra oomph of the bass, right? Bring out the kick a little bit. Yeah, so this time the filter station is doing what I did in the other records where we have that dual different resonances, and then we are hitting it with the saturation. And also I'm using the feedback as well here. And you can hear it's mangled. It's completely destroyed. If I take that out, it really is accentuating the kick drum. I hit it with the Lindell to open up the top end again. And then I have the Oxford inflator to just kind of smash it up. This is one of my favorite plugins of all time. It does a great job at what it does, and it just does one thing, and it always sounds great on things. So you can hear it's almost acting like compression, but it's not compression. It's using saturation to kind of an harmonic analysis of the signal, harmonic additions to just focus the signal and focus the track. So that's the main drum beat. However, It's again, it's being layered together into this drum bus, which I'm just have a clipper on. Again, this is my go-to right now. Is the LVC audio clipper. It's great, and I'm using the master clipper and the shifter settings. So here we go. So it's these two, and then there's other beat, which I call beat 2. This is another. So this is another break that's filling in the top end. You can see just rolling off the bottom end. There's also a frequency that I didn't really like as much in here. So with them all together, to that little, all of those little things in there. So that's the main drum pattern. Then let's go to the bass. So the bass is being made up of 2 patches right now. So there's a bus here, which just has a Better Maker EQ on it. This is a Pultec style EQ, and what am I doing here? A little bit of boosting at the low end and a little bit of boosting on the high end just to kind of open up the bottom end, and then I've got a limiter. I'm just using the Brainworks limiter on this. So let's look at the first patch. Oh, I'm using Sublab for this song. So here's the Sublab patch. So this is the original Sublab. This is not the Pro. It's called Pro that they have now. Sublab XL, sorry. So this is the original Sublab, and I'm just using it to create that bass sound, and then I'm layering it with a Serum patch. All right, that Serum patch is a lot more interesting. So this is basically the sub bass, and this is the upper mid range. You can hear all of that. Almost like aliasing that's happening. So let's listen to just that by itself. So this is a preset that I probably loaded from a library, and I may have adjusted it, or it might be just the preset. I don't know. But again, I'm open to sharing things. I don't care. You can find this preset if you want and use it. Try it out. It's just but I may have tweaked it a little bit. I just don't know. What's it got going on here? I'm using the Mag EQ. Why am I using the Mag EQ? What am I doing? Mag EQ has the Magnum. It's not just the EQ; it's compressor as well. So I'm doing some compression here. I've got the airband on a little bit. Yeah. So I'm using the airband of the EQ and the compression together to create. Basically, it's like a little channel strip. So without. It's making it a little bit louder, about 2 dB louder, 3 dB louder, but it's also doing a decent amount of compression. And then I'm using the newfangled audio, who I just talked about, Saturate as my clipper. So, and that's doing about 4 dB of clipping. That's just containing that dynamic. Those weird aliasing sounds are cool. So together, boom, boom. So they're just working together to create that sub bass sound. See, if I just have this guy here, and I don't have this, I'm not sure if that's coming across depending on how you're listening, but you can really hear that the bottom end kind of fills out with this extra Sublab bass sound. So the two together with the drums fill out the frequency spectrum. But I love what I'm doing here with these drums. Actually, it's funny because I haven't really looked at this session since I did the final mix and the Atmos mix. But I like how I'm almost like creating a new drum break by combining these 3 elements together to create something that isn't really cut from one record. It's 3 things being combined. So we have some transitional things here. Alright, so kind of weird. There's another drum break. Right, that's used in the fill here. There's another fill here. So that all that is a variation of that original break, and I probably changed the filters and stuff, and I just thought it was easier to duplicate the track and redo it instead of automate that stuff. So after the transition here, we have this shaker bus, and the shaker bus is made up of two sounds. The first is the what I call shaker Wiley, which must be, yeah. If you know, you know. That's so I added a rotary, like almost like Leslie effect on here, just to give it stereo width, because before without it, it's just the the plug sound sample, and now it's got the rotary. And then mangled reverb. So this is just adding basically a little delay. I've got this 64th note pre-delay, and it sounds like it's gated as well, right? So it's just kind of this little extra sound in there. Without these, it's just a mono up the middle. And that's being combined with this sound as well. So we have a loop. There's just some tambourines that I cut up. So I'm hitting it hard on this ambience hall impulse response with a lot of wetness. You can see it's washy as all heck. And then really bringing out the top end for whatever reason. Now let me take off the bus processing. You can hear that changes things a lot. So this is what these two sounds sound like by themselves. But then I'm basically using distortion here with the app shaper and adding some harmonic distortion to it. And that's adding that extra volume as well. All right, so a couple dB of volume and a little bit of crispiness. And then I'm using the shapeshifter as a upward and downward compressor. So the shapeshifter it's a really cool plugin that does basically, and I mean I'm really dumbing this down because it does a lot more than this, but it kind of is reminiscent of OTT in that it does downward compression and upward compression, and you can also do more things with it. There's a transient shaper, there is some saturation and overdrive that's on this plugin as well, and there's a global tone control too, but it's doing upward and downward compression at the same time. It's just a different, you have a little bit more control, I guess, for certain sounds with the shapeshifter plugin. It's Aberrant DSP that makes this, and it's one of my go-to plugins for this kind of stuff when I'm not using OTT. So again, I'm trying to smack the dynamics out of this. So there's no top, there's no bottom, everything is just kind of coming towards the threshold. So without it, yeah, it just makes it ringy and full. And again, it's not trying to be defined as clean. It's just there to help fill out those harmonics. It almost feels like it's too much, but when you hear it in context with the production, this section has none of that top end. And then after the transition, you get all that top end. Like, I may have overdone it a little bit. I might have made it a little bit too harsh or too much, but, you know, at the time, yeah, it sounded cool. So that's what I got going on here. Now we get the melodic elements happening. Now, if you remember in Cannons, I stacked a lot of synthesizers together to create the big kind of melodic thing. One of my favorite things in music in general is when you have something that starts off as being like, you would consider it like hard or heavy or mean or distorted, right? And then something beautiful comes out of it. And that's what I'm doing with this record at the same, similar to what I did with Cannons. So this bass line is like dun 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 dun, right? Just like a half step thing, kind of mean and dark. And then you just get these pretty chords. And I love things like that. If you listen to my music, you hear I do it all the time. This is something I like doing. So this is all bass off of just one synth though. So the synth I'm using is Lion by Unfiltered Audio. And I just built this off of the default patch. It looks like it's 2 of their Forms oscillators. And they're being modulated by an LFO in different ways. There's also a reverb that's being modulated. The decay length is being modulated. And that's pretty much it. There's a filter that's happening here, then that might get automated. But let's take a look as we play this. So this is the synth that comes in. Looks like I'm also modulating shade. So I decided to do the modulation here instead of on the Lion plugin. And then I'm just using a plate reverb. And that gets into the transition. So let's listen to it in context. Also, I'm learning these on the kicks. All right, so we also have this new bass part, right, which is filling in the bass. So you had this mean bass. And this bass comes in on the same note that the other bass is leaving. And this is being created by Sublab. You can see I automated some of the notes because some of the notes are sticking out depending on what octave they're in. And it's just a Sublab patch. It looks like it's the same, based on the same patch as the original thumpy bass. It's got a basement to help fill out. Hear that? Really, that clarity here is dipping out, that almost giving it that Pultec push-pull inverted resonance sound, which is great. It just fills out the bass really nice, and it also leaves the drums enough room to move, so you can hear. Right? If I don't have that in here, hear how that sounds? It sounds awful together, at least in my headphones right now. But with it rounds out the bass. It gives it a place to sit in the mix. So, again. This is the same drum pattern, just a different, same drum sample, just a new track and a different section. And we bring in that extra break. Which was out, you know, for a little bit. I muted it for 8 bars there. So this is kind of taking the place of those hi-hats, right? They're filling in that top end. So you need that top end This is just a riser. Now this song has a very, very, very long breakdown. I made this song before I made Cannons. And with Cannons, I deliberately didn't make the breakdown as long as this one. This one is pretty long, as you can see, right? It takes this, half the record is the breakdown. But that's what I wanted to go for, so. So there's a little vocal sample thing here. And I've got EQ, a little distortion, very, very subtle. And I'm using Biome by Unfiltered Audio on this for the reverb and delay sound. This is their multi-effect unit. This is the non-multi. This is the single band one. They have a multi-band version called Triad as well. If you are looking to get these plugins, I would just get Triad because you can basically make Biome inside Triad. But yeah, it's just using this. That's giving me my space. I was just having fun with Unfiltered Audio plugins that day, probably. I made that synth in line. I was like, oh, I'll just use Biome. Again, no rhyme or reason. I could have used any other reverb plugin, but this is getting me a really cool sound, you know, this Pulsar unit. So there's some synth thing here that's got a ton of delay on it. I'm using Sandman Pro. Again, I probably was just on an Unfiltered Audio kick and was just like, oh, I'll use this for my delay today. So what's going on with this? This is the random string things. So I'm using raw strings in Contact. I'm using the raw slow inch, the 3-inch, and then the 3 inches per second. These are the speeds. And then I'm using a vibrato. And all the effects are taking place in here too. So any of the effects are coming here. So the delay is built into the Contact delay. So this is just giving you this like little wispy, almost aleatoric like string thing happening. So this is the big breakdown section here. So I still have those guys going. The solo bass is probably just solo bass. Yeah, it's a Spitfire solo strings solo bass. So you can hear that. More pulsing strings. So this is another raw strings patch that looks like I made. So I'm using the tremolo pits at the 1/2 inch, 5 inches per second, 5 ips raw close tremolo pits, natural tuning. So these two are probably fighting each other tuning wise a little bit. There's also some bow clicks happening here. You can hear those little percussive things. So all of that's happening here. So and then we have the 106. This is the Cherry Audio Juno. And what's this doing? Little fluttery things. Looks like this was, I just opened it and made this sound because it's not mentioning a preset. There's an LFO here, right? That's being applied to the envelope amplitude. Yeah, right here. The amplitude, the VCA. It's a little triangle wave. The chorus. Using both waveforms here for the DCO. Oh, thanks, Jerome. Thanks for joining. since Peace Off, Civil Music, yeah. Oh wow, yeah, the Peace Off records. Those are some back in the day, but yeah, appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, so that's the DCO 106, just kind of layering in with these guys. That's all that's really going on here. It's just picking the right sounds and the right notes that work together, right? A little bit of randomness in there too. Obviously there's automation here too. So I did automation of the volume of these strings to kind of match the gestures of the others. It's a voice synth. Oh, Pure Magnetic's Spectra. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Pure Magnetic, but they make these really cool, small, simple, GUI synths and effects. And yeah, this is just one of theirs. Got that kind of old school vocal synth sound. It sounds a lot more complex than the MIDI. Like looking at the MIDI, you're like, all right, but it's just about choosing the right sounds. And this kind of dies away to silence because I didn't know how to get back into the beat. So I just did another build up. So the drums here are the same drums as the opening, but I've got them going through some plugins. So here, the micro pitch. It's just adding some stereo-ness, right? A little bit of pitch modulation. And then I have them going through Dumpster Fire, which is being automated as well, I believe. If you're not familiar with the Freak Show Industries plugins, their GUIs are super weird, but their plugins sound great and they're fun to work with. Look at this. Alright, so then there's some riser stuff. Where's that snare? Here it is. So here's the drums. Little filter. Smack attack to bring out the attacks and pull the sustain back, so make it snappy. And then I hit it with Decapitator, which brings back some of that attack, but is distorted without it. Hear that? Hear how you can hear the space? Space is gone. It's great. And that's this doing that. Makes it really staccato. Again, just transitional random stuff. I just tend to throw samples. I've said this before, but if you're seeing this for the first time, I just go into my browser and I have all of my samples mostly on these two drives, and I'll just search for something like voice and grab something and just like audition it, and does it work, and then I'll just throw it in. That's how I tend to do a lot of this stuff. I also started using that Rando plugin lately, but I made these records before I had that plugin. That's great. It's like a plugin where you basically can just feed it your entire sample library, and then it just randomly creates patches for you. I'm not sure why it's freezing. It's like, what are you doing? Right, so it takes a little bit to load, also because I wasn't doing any of this stuff before. All right. So yeah, it basically just you feed it in all of your samples. Right, so you set it up, and then it'll just give you random combinations of things that you can basically stretch them across the keyboard. You can loop things, all sorts of fun stuff. It's a great way to just find... right, to find random things to put in your production, which I think is fun. Okay, so the beat at the end here is a little different. It's the same patch, the same drums as before, but the pattern changes a little bit. So let's listen to the drums. Hear that? There was like that pause. Boom, boom. So it's the same drum beats, some same drum breaks, just manipulated a little differently. But the bass changes. So there's a new bass that's introduced. So if you see here, there's this new thing called bass drop 2 that's being layered with the other two. So let's listen to that. So bass drop 2. So this is kind of like, you know, a grime serum patch. Just right. So I'm layering that just to kind of fill in those upper mid-range frequencies. Yeah, you can see here the upper mid. I'm just trying to bring those out. Again, the filter station is one of my favorite plugins just for adding that extra layer, right? So if we listen to this without, that's what it sounds like. Let's add the EQ. And then let's add in the filter station, right? You can really bring out those resonant frequencies that you want to bring out and be very specific about it. Oh, hey, what's up, The Collector? Thanks for joining. Have you got to try Serum 2? Yes, I have. I do like it. I haven't used it on these records because these records were made before Serum 2 came out, but I am using it right now in some of my new production, and I do like it a lot. I tried using it for some breaks. I know there's some YouTubers that have, you know, been talking about, yeah, using it for breaks and stuff. I just haven't found it to be better than or more user-friendly than the things that I'm already using for drum breaks, but I like it for synths and making synthesizers. And some of the modulation, some of the new modulators are really cool. Like, you can have modulation based on the number of voices that you're playing at a time, which is kind of unique. I don't know a lot of synths that have that. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff going on with Serum 2. I just made this record. This record was made 2 years ago, actually. Just no one, you know, heard it until now, or people who have seen me play, and I've been playing it in sets. But yeah, I do like Serum 2 a lot. So the three of these are being layered together now to create this. Again, I just hit it with a limiter then too. So this is what we have for the bass. So remember, if I don't have this in, it sounds like the opening bass. And again, all it is half notes. It's just dun, 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 dun. The Collector said, I'm on a prehistoric machine, a MacBook 2015, and can't hop on Serum 2, but it looks really cool. Yeah, I don't know what the minimum specs are. I'm sure that might be cutting it, though, especially with the OS updates and everything like that. I haven't looked into it. This machine that I'm running this on is a Mac Studio M2 Max, which I got last year. So it's like, you know, pretty souped up. I used to have iMacs before that. I had a bunch of iMacs, like a 3 or 4 in a row, and my iMac died right when like COVID happened, and then they were releasing those M1s, right? The M1 Mac Mini had come out, and then the iMacs, which are more like the colorful ones that are like more for like just not for doing pro stuff, really. It doesn't seem that like you'd really want to use it for that. There's not a lot of connectivity. So I bought an M1 Mac Mini, and I got the most souped up version that you could get at the time, and that thing was really, really painful. I used it for 4 years, and it was awful. I originally made this record on that computer, and now my wife has it. She uses it because she does like graphic stuff, so she can easily use that computer. It's not a problem. But when you're talking about like memory usage and just trying to run contact libraries that are pretty deep, it was really, really painful. I had 4 years of pain. So I got the Mac Studio. I paid for it, with a Mac credit card so that I could pay it off over 12 months. I think next month is my last payment. So they spread it out over equal payments for 12 months, and next month I think because I got it last June or last May. So it's been a year, and I so far I love this computer. We have them at the college as well, at Community College of Philadelphia. We have the same machine, but they have like 24 gigs of RAM, or I'm sorry, 64 gigs of RAM. I think I only have 32. Yeah, we have the 64 gig of RAM versions, and they fly. And this is flipping. There's not a lot going on right now, though. So this is following the same pattern as the first drop, right? It's the same basic premise, where you have this first 8 bars with just the drums and bass, and then we're gonna add in the upper frequency stuff. There's some new crashes here. These crashes are just going through a bit reduction plugin. I'm using Decimort by D16, and then an EQ. So let's take this is one cool thing that's happening at the end, which I want to share with you. Just something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about all the time. When we talk about side chaining, a lot of times you think about side chaining a compressor to a bass, and when you hit the kick, it pulls the bass back, and then when the kick drops out, the bass gets louder again. That's a very popular use of it. Also for snares, to clear out synthesizers and stuff. So you hit a snare, it pushes the compression back on the synth, and then pops it back out when the snare is gone. I'm using it on this note with the bass. So check this out. This is I don't know, kind of fun. So I figured I'd share it with you. So I'm using the Caniphonium on this. This is that emulation of the monophonic tube synth that they made, but this one I think has 4 or 6 voices, maybe even 8 voices. It sounds cool. I'm a big fan, but it's literally playing one note. So I'm gonna remove all the plugins. So let's listen to what this sounds like. Now, obviously you can hear it's going in and out of tune, and I do have some automated mutes and that modulation behind there, but it's literally just I'm holding one note the entire time. Yeah, there's a little bit of the formant shifting stuff on the breaks is also really trying to bring out the resonance, and I can show you that again if you want. So this end note. So how am I getting it to do what it sounds like in the record? So you heard it on its own. Right? It sounds horrible without any of the plugins on, right? So how am I doing this? So the first thing is I got an EQ, and I'm just using shade to do that. But this is the trick here. So I'm using the Purple Audio MC77. You could use any compressor. I just happen to use this one for this. So it's at the 8:1 compression ratio. But the side chain is coming from the bass bus. So instead of sending drums to it or something like that, I'm using this bass bus. So every time the bass is hit, bam, 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 it sucks the volume back on the note. And then when those basses go away, this release time is releasing the note back into the mix. So it almost sounds like this note comes out of the basses. So like when the basses drop out, this note comes in and like growls in. So that's basically what's happening. So if I solo this with just the purple plugin on, you can hear what it's doing. Actually, this might not work. It's not gonna work because the bass bus isn't playing. Okay, let's Yeah, I can't demonstrate it with... Let's just demonstrate it with both of them soloed. Okay, here we go. Alright. Right, you hear it? It's being compressed and release. I could have done this with automation, but it's more fun to do it this way. And then I did hit with the limiter. I don't even know if it's hitting the limiter. Oh yeah, it is at the end there. One time it hit the limiter. Again, if I remove that, listen to the difference. So every time the bass hits, it's pulling back the compression on the synth note, and then it's releasing it over time. If I want it to happen faster, I could just change the release time. Right? Or slower. There, it's non-existent. Again, it's just adding another layer here on this final drop. So let's listen. And obviously all the automation is within the synth. And at the end there's just this pad, which is a pigments thing. This is the preset that I started with, and I don't know, this could be that preset with a little bit of changes, or it's I put in my own samples. I don't think I did, but that's basically it. So there's just this little drone at the end that comes out of the same note. And that's how the tune ends. But going back to the opening here, the drums, just so you can see what I'm doing. The drums are being made up of basically 3 separate pieces. So the first piece is just a voice thing. Again, it almost is reminiscent of those ghost voices that you would get in a drum break where there's like maybe someone behind it, like the think break or something like that, where you have like a voice in there. I'm just doing that and recreating that. The beat, it sounds clean. And again, I like using Momentum to sample breaks. Momentum and Serato sample are my 2 go-to usually. If you're not familiar, I'll bring it up again. Momentum is a free download from Big Fish Audio. They want you to buy their samples and pay for these libraries and to throw them in. But the thing is, you can load your own samples into it and just use it as a sampler. And it's great. It's got, pitch modulation, reverse effects, stutter effects, and you can kind of paint them in. You can also adjust speed. You can, stretch the samples. I mean, it's pretty good for what it is. I like it. I like running it in slice mode, and it will slice up transients. You can adjust the transients too, right? You have full control over that stuff. It's a free download. And they want to sell you their sample libraries for, I don't know, $130. Just don't buy them. Or if you want to, buy them. I have no problem with sample libraries. I use samples. You can see there's samples all over the place here. Okay, so yeah, I'm using smack attack to increase the attack, pull the sustain back, a little bit of EQ, bring out the kick, Filter station is doing a lot of distortion here, but also the filters, right? That's adding, the feedback is really what's killing it here. Hear that? Using the Lindell just to open up the top end and to clean it up a little bit of gain reduction happening. And then the Oxford inflator to kind of hone it in, give it a little bit more focus. So that's the main drum beat with the ghost voice. And then the other layer of drums, the main layer of drums, is this guy. And that is being, you can hear, being time stretched a little bit. The second time around. Like if I take the filter station down, I'd obviously have to EQ this differently or boost the volume a little bit. It sounds like a different tune. Just that slappy. I just like how it works against the main synth. Again, this is all just one lion patch that I made. Down there. It's a cool synth. Yeah, definitely get the Big Fish momentum. It's great. For what it is, it's free. I mean, I tell people to get it all the time. I like it. Again, Serato Sample is fantastic, but Serato Sample is, you know, a paid plugin, but it does a great job, and I really like working with it. This just I think Momentum, you know, has its benefits, and I love the individual effects. Like, you know, it's almost like if you've ever used Electron stuff, it's kind of like the what do they call it? I'm drawing a blank. How you can basically have completely different settings on each slice of a sample or each step of the Electron devices. What's that called? What's that called? Electron automation. What's it called? What do they call it? Was it something lock? What do they call it? Parameter locking. There it is. There we go. All right, there we go. Parameter locking. Yeah, basically, so you can like basically set different settings for each step, and you can you know, turn on the filter, turn on, in this case, I had the pitch because I wanted to change the pitch of those individual slices, and it's just really easy to do that. Can you do that in Serato Sample? Yeah, you can. It's just not the same visually. It's a little different, but I like how that works. Okay, so that was Equinox. These have been going around an hour, which I think is great. I do already have the next one planned, so let me give that information to you for anyone who's watching this right now or watching it back. My schedule's different every week, so right now it's just kind of crazy. The next one I'm going to do is going to be on Thursday morning, so 2 days from now, Thursday the 8th of May at 11 o'clock. So Thursday, May 8th, 11 a.m. on the Twitch and the YouTube, I'll be doing a breakdown of Racing is the track that I'm going to do. And Racing is the next track on the album. And it is I mentioned this the last stream, it is the song that's in the demo, or the promo of my new record. So if you actually like go to my Instagram, or my website and watch the main like here album's coming soon with the strings and stuff, that's that song, Racing. It has no beat. It's a rhythmic song, but it has no like drums. It's more in line with some of my other recent records that if you're a fan at all of the Human Extinction EP I put out, like tracks like In Love During Flight and No Time, if you're into those, you will like Racing, I think. I like it a lot. I think it's a cool record. I think it's awesome to have it mixed in with these more club friendly records. That's just how my brain works too, so I'm into it. So that's gonna be on Thursday at 11 a.m. Thanks for joining everyone that jumped in. Thanks to Jerome, Spankbase, and the Collector for chatting with me. And hope you all enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. It's been rainy here in Philadelphia. I think it's another day it might rain again. I don't know. Wherever you are, hopefully the weather's nicer than it is here. But it's been fun. And see you all soon. Take care.